going to do some lead up to the American Revolution. To start off, we're going to have a quick video that's going to go ahead and give you a quick overview. So on the back of your note sheet, I'm going to have you write 2 facts that you learned from this video. And then we're going to talk about it afterwards. Okay. Maybe we're not going to.
Swore their loyalty until the very end. Anything you say, King, it's okay, King. You know it's kind of scary on your own. Gonna build a new land the way we planned. Could you help us run it till it's grown? They planted corn, you know. They built their houses one by one. And bit by bit they worked until the colonies were done. They looked around, yeah, up and down, and someone said, hooray! If the king could only see us now, he would be proud of us today. They knew that now they'd run their own land. But George III still vowed he'd rule them to the end. Anything I say, do it my way now. Anything I say, do it my way. Don't you get to feeling independent, 'cause I'm gonna force you to obey. He taxed their property, he didn't give them any choice. And back in England, he didn't give them any voice. That's called taxation without representation, and it's not fair. But when the colonies complained, the king said, I don't care. He even has the nerve to tax our cup of tea. To put it kindly, King, we really don't agree. Gonna show you how we feel. We're gonna dump this tea and turn this harbor into the biggest cup of tea in history. They wanted no more mothering land. They knew the time had come for them to take command. It's very clear you're being unfair, King. No matter what you say, we won't obey. Gonna hold our revolution now, King, and we're gonna run it all away with no more king.
We're gonna elect a president.
No more king.
He's gonna do what the people want.
No more king.
We're gonna run things our way.
No more king.
Nobody's gonna tell us what to do.
Rocking and a rolling, swishing and a splashing over the horizon. What can it be? Looks like it's going to be
A free country.
Okay, so let's go ahead. And McKenna, can you give me 1 fact that you got from that video?
The king was King George.
Yeah, King George III. Good. How about Maya? Can you give me 1 for that video?
Find out what happened in 1620.
Very good. How about you, Garrett?
They were taxed for their tea.
Very good, very good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get our objective going. Lauren, can I get you to read that out for me?
Students will be able to place events in chronological order on a timeline regarding the American Revolution.
So that's going to be our activity at the end of class today. So first off, we're going to go ahead and get some background. So anything that's bolded up here on this PowerPoint is what you guys are going to be writing in on your notes. So I'll go ahead and give you a minute to write that down, and then we'll talk about it. So as we talked about yesterday, in our lead up to this lesson today, we had these 13 colonies that had separated from Britain. And so we have New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And these were all the new areas that were settled by the Pilgrims and the people coming over from England into America. Can I get a thumbs up when everyone's got that down? Perfect. So now we have some tensions rising. So after they lived in peace for a while, the king kept trying to do more to the colonists. So the colonists eventually decided that it was time for them to stand up. So tensions began to rise between the colonies and England, and that made the colonists decide that they wanted to have a clean break from King George III, and they wanted to create their own country free of his rule. And so King George III, he had a lot of desperate attempts to maintain control of these colonies, and that's what we're going to go into right now after you guys are finished with that. Let me get a thumbs up. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the Sugar Act. So go ahead and write these down, and in a few minutes we'll go ahead and talk about those together.
What goes next? Oh, there's a year, the Sugar Act.
Oh, sorry. Ignore the blanks. Those are going to be for the activity afterwards. So the blanks next to like act, you ignore those blanks. That's going to be for later. Oh, sorry. So the Sugar Act was the first act that was placed on the colonists, and that was the taxes that were placed on any non-British goods that were shipped to the colonies. So anything from France or India or anywhere in Asia, anything that was coming that wasn't from Britain, there was an extra tax placed on that, and so that was the Sugar Act. So next we have the Stamp Act, and that was when Great Britain forced colonists to pay a tax on any printed materials. So it wasn't like the stamps that we're thinking of today. It was anything printed. So that would include newspapers, magazines, playing cards, anything that had to be printed out. And then we had the Townshend Acts, and these were new taxes that took away additional freedoms from the colonists. And these included imports of paper, paint, lead, glass, and tea. So a lot of these imports were coming from Asia or India or other areas that weren't Britain, and so they were placing extra taxes on those. So these were the first three taxes that the colonists had to deal with. And can anyone take a guess why this made them so angry? I'll give you a hint. Remember when they kind of stopped the singing in the video? So what was happening over in Britain that the colonists weren't a part of?
Taxation without representation.
Perfect. So they had the parliament over there in Britain, and the colonists were being taxed, so they were taking money from them, but they weren't getting their voice in the British government. So we're going to go ahead and do a quick think, pair, share. Go ahead and think about these for a second, and then talk with your neighbor. How were these laws being passed? Who was passing them? And what is the term for this? Wyland kind of just gave this one for us. So let's talk about these first two. So go ahead and talk for 30 seconds, and then we'll come back together.
They were the first revenue-based tax that the Parliament passed on. So like they were clearly to justify the government, like for something that like didn't seem fair.
All right, guys, for the sake of time, let's go ahead and bring it back up here. And can I get a volunteer for this first question? How were these laws being passed? Anyone take a guess for that? It's kind of going back to taxation without representation, right? So these laws were being passed over in Britain, and they were not being discussed with the colonists. And so who was passing them? Yeah.
Representatives in Parliament, who didn't oppose them being enacted.
Perfect. Great job, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get back into this really quick. So go ahead and write this, and then we'll talk about it in a minute. Okay, so the Boston Tea Party, that's kind of like what you see up here. This is from the video. So that was when colonists threw tea in the Boston Harbor, and they were responding to that idea of taxation without representation. So Parliament was trying to tax them on their tea, so they decided to throw out their tea in a form of protest. And then the Intolerable Act, so these were disciplinary laws, and it was kind of like King George's last attempt to keep control of the colonists. So he was trying to punish the colonists to get them to fall back into line. And then the First Continental Congress Convention, so that was the group of colonists who met together, and they were in response to these acts that were passed, these laws, and they were going to try to get back at the British Parliament. Everyone good there? Next slide. Go ahead and take these down. So Common Sense was a pamphlet that was written during this time, and it encouraged the colonists to break away from the British Parliament. So it was saying that it was time for America to become its own country and break away from that British power. And so that was passed around in the colonies. The Boston Massacre was a clash between British troops and townspeople in Boston, kind of exactly how it sounds. It resulted in a British soldier, shooting into a crowd, and it killed 5 colonists, so that really angered people. The Declaration of Independence was the announcement that the 13 colonies were the newly independent and free states, and they were free of British rule. Okay, everyone good here? Sweet. So now you're going to go ahead and, okay, I'm going to come out of teaching. If I had, I didn't want to print it because it was a waste of paper, but we would have these, this timeline, and then you would go ahead and you would take all of these, and so then you would take these acts, and then you put those up here, and then these are the definitions of those, and then I was going to have them go online, so either with Chromebooks in the classroom or with their phones, and they're going to go find the dates. So then after they found the dates and they got this checked off, they're going to glue that in, and then after being checked off, that's when they're going to go back and put those dates back in their notes. Yeah.